Hello and welcome to the Web Talk Show. My name is Armando Perez-Carreno, and today we are talking about meeting your staff where they are. So, there are a lot of different tools and softwares that you can use for many different things, and this also applies to tools outside in the real world, not necessarily just to software. There's so much that you can use that you can throw at a problem that might solve it or might actually hurt it. So, what we want to talk about today is, do you really need new tools or new software? Do you need to try to fit your business into a box provided by one of these softwares? Or is there perhaps a better way to achieve the same goal while keeping the same things that your employees already use? That's what we're going to be talking about today. I hope we have a good connection. I don't know why on Instagram it looks a little choppy on this end. I don't know if it's the same for the other networks. So let me know in the chat if you see that the signal is not as one would like it. I would be very happy to know. So let's talk about it. I was having a conversation this morning with a team that has an even larger team where there's some field work involved. So let's say you install any sort of devices in different places, or you have construction or anything in that space. Well, in those scenarios, you would typically have people that go make a site audit of sorts or a site visit, and then they take some information down, and then they go back to the office, and at the end of the day, they might take everything that they put down in their notebooks and fill it into whatever system you've told them to put that information in. That's okay. It works. But sometimes they have many visits, and so they take a lot of time at the end of the day trying to get this done, and sometimes there's even more work and they can't get to everything. And so things start getting delayed and proposals start being delayed as well, and you lose some of those jobs because you weren't fast enough. That is one problem. Another problem is perhaps they went to install something, and this came up in the call this morning, and after you install it, then the client comes and tells you, hey, you broke my driveway in your installation. And you're like, no, I didn't. And then they say, well, where's the proof? And then it's hard. So if you have good proof when people go and do the site audits, then it's great. But sometimes you ask your team to do it, and sometimes they do it, but sometimes they don't. Or they took it on their phone, but then they lost their phone. Or they took it on their phone, but then forgot to put it into the system because it's hard and it doesn't work well on mobile, right? So that's another problem that can occur. Or you go and do something and they install things, but the serial numbers were not the right ones. Or they put the cables in the wrong place because they all look very similar. So all these sorts of things happen every day in multiple businesses. So how do you keep track of all this information, do proper site audits, proper visits, get proper evidences of what's happening without having to buy this huge software that might not fix your issue because it might force you to do a separate process that's different from what you're used to or what your team is used to, and it just overcomplicates what they do, and they end up not doing it and resenting you for it because it's just hard to do and it goes outside what they're doing. Or even, again, this is another scenario that came up, they can't do it on their phone because maybe they don't have a big data plan, and so they have to go back and do it at home at the end of the day when they're not supposed to be working anymore. So there's so many things that sometimes can be resolved by simply talking with your team. So if you talk with the people that are out in the field and get a feel for what they're actually doing and what their typical day is like, or even actually hopping on the truck one day or a few days and seeing what they're doing, you might get some very good insights as to what their process looks like, because maybe they are taking the pictures, but again, they forget to put them in the right place. Well, if you see that they're taking their phone out to take the pictures, couldn't there be a better way for them to just take it and send it in immediately? So one option is you have this chatbot, for example. This could be a text message chatbot or a Telegram chatbot or a WhatsApp chatbot or whatever type of chatbot you want, but basically a way for them to talk to a chatbot via whatever platform they're used to. If it's text, it's text. If it's WhatsApp, it's WhatsApp. If it's Telegram, it's Telegram. Doesn't really matter. The point is, if they're used to using a tool like that, then they could be out in the field and then they could just message your tool, and your tool can then ask them, oh, hey, what do you need to do today? Oh, I need to upload these files. Oh, perfect. Which types of files do you want? Okay, this one. Okay, perfect. So are you installing an electrical panel? Yes. Okay. So make sure you send me pictures of the front and the back. And then they'll just attach the picture. And then now give me the back. And then they'll attach the picture as well. So it just becomes natural for them to send them. And then nobody on your team has to follow up and do the whole updating to the database thing, because you can have automations that within that chatbot actually do that for you. Right? So the chatbot could just grab the image, put it in the right place, in the right database, connected to the right spreadsheet or whatever you need to do in your system to have that follow-up. And so the process becomes streamlined, and you didn't have to add this new tool or software into the mix that either might be very expensive or both, right? Or will actually take a long time to implement. And so it just adds things on everyone's plate. So just consider that there might be a better way, a simpler way to do some of the things that you've been wanting to automate in your business to reduce errors, to get things done faster, etc. You could also have a voice agent, and we've talked a lot about voice agents. It's basically a chatbot but with voice, and so your team member could go on again in the field and then just call it and say, yeah, we're here, we checked the temperatures, they're 107 and 52, and the indicators say 200, and etc. And then the voice agent could say, perfect, text me the pictures, and then you could just text it the pictures and they'll receive it and match it together. And so again, just keeping it within the flow without interfering with what they're actually doing will make the process more enjoyable for your field workers and for yourself as well, because all the data can now be structured the right way. So just a few thoughts on what you could do if you just listen to your staff and see what they're actually doing in the day-to-day. Now, another thing that's very interesting is you can have a chatbot, but that's more of a support assistant for your field workers. So perhaps someone goes to a place, let's say you sell networking equipment, servers and routers and firewalls and all that fun stuff. So someone calls in and they say, hey, there's a problem with whatever switch. Well, instead of having your team have to deal with all the process, you can have a chatbot that the customer can call into. It could be a priority one if you want. The customer calls in, the chatbot answers, it asks them what their business is, etc., validates, and then says, oh, okay, perfect. So is it router number 2, the one that's on the left side of the wall? And then because it'll have all that information, right? And then the customer can say, yes, it's that one. Then they might say, okay, perfect. I see in our diagnostics that we're not receiving data. So can you please check it has power? And then they can go, and it could be a troubleshooter, but not the typical ones that are generic that we talk to with different systems, but instead it could be one that actually has access to your knowledge base with all the user manuals for all the equipment that you installed for those clients. And also it could have access to the dashboards and to the monitoring software, such that it could proactively say, oh, we see that router number 2 is off. Can you check if maybe the fuse tripped or something? And then the person can say, oh yeah, it's this, right? Or it could go even further, and while the person is talking, if the system notices something, it could already dispatch someone. If it knows it's not going to be able to be fixed by the client because something broke, then it could proactively dispatch someone to already go. And so by the time the person calls or is chatting, then it could say, okay, perfect. We know what it is. There's somebody from our staff that's going to be there in 5 minutes or something like that. And imagine the experience of the customer in that regard. And then also you have the other layer of when your staff member, your support technician gets there, if they have access to a tool like this, it could also wear a headset. They call it or text it or whatever, and then say, okay, I'm here. I need to replace this switch. What do I need to verify? And then it could send that, oh, here's your checklist. Make sure you do this, and this, and let me know when you've done it. And so it could actually tell it, okay, so I've removed the wire. I've done this other thing. Okay, perfect. Now connect it back. Okay, we're going to do a test. And then the thing could do a test. And so you don't need additional tooling again, because the chatbot could be interacting with the support person to actually help him or her do the whole process. And again, have access to all the manuals and anything that that person might need at that moment in time, instead of having to know everything by memory or call in to a staff member and see if someone can help them because maybe they didn't know something specific. So there's so many use cases for these things, for automations, but also for chat agents, chatbots, voice agents, that it's just a matter of looking at the processes we have and see, where am I getting stuck? Where do I have bottlenecks in my business? What is happening every day that just gives me a headache because I just see, every time I see it, I know we have to fix it, but I haven't done anything about it. Well, there's probably something that can be automated there such that you can remove that manual entry errors or things of that nature. So give it a thought. You might be surprised, especially if you talk with your staff, to see what is going on in the business that has bottlenecks, that is slowing you down, that can make your business more efficient, both in intake and generating proposals and sending them out, but also in delivery and execution. How can you make it more efficient? Because the whole AI thing is here to stay. It's another layer that has been added on top of computers that now allow us to interact with them with voice. Natural language just makes so many things possible that weren't before. And if you have anything like that you want to talk about and you want to see how you can implement this in your business, please send me a message, send me an email. You can find my email in many places, but info@perez-carreno.com will take you there. You can send a message through LinkedIn, Instagram, not YouTube, X. You can send a message as well. You can reach me in multiple places. If you go to Perez-Carreno.com as well, or just search for Perez-Carreno, you'll find me there as well. There is a discovery session that you can book. It's free, and we'll talk about your business, and I'll show you what can be automated. You'll have a good idea of what's a good starting point, and then you can decide to hire us if you want, or just do it yourself. There's also that possibility, but I'll be happy to help you see what is possible within your business in all this AI and automation space, because again, it's so amazing what I've seen business owners like you just get so much time back by automating simple processes that have no use being done by your staff. There's better uses of their time so that their business can be more efficient, and also so that everyone can enjoy their work a lot more. So AI is not here to replace people. It's here to empower people and make them do their work or creative endeavors better, easier, faster, so that they can have more time for other things that they also enjoy. Right, so I hope you enjoyed this little stream. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop them in the chat, and I'll look at them later. And if not, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.